Hey, what's going on? So, it's middle of March. It's about time to get the season started. I've got some stuff that carried over in the winter here. It's mostly mustard greens, arugula, that sort of stuff. Winter greens, you could say. But I've got this bed here seeded. That's same kind of mix, the winter greens, as well as a salad mix. And that bed over there, the far bed, is all bok choy and tatsoi. But what I'm doing today is this middle bed, as things have died out throughout the winter, I've weeded them out, and now I'm going to transplant some stuff in their place. So I've got a bunch of stuff here, a couple different kinds of lettuce, spinach, some kales, Swiss chard that's not doing so great, a couple more kinds of kale. But figured I'd tape a little transplanting process to start the season. So for safety's sake, you usually shouldn't have any fires in a plastic greenhouse. But that's my weeding, so watch how long this takes. There you go. All the little weeds in that bed are now gone. On this sort of bed you get right here, it has some stuff that's wintered over that I really want to keep because it's actually looking pretty nice right now. I go through with my homemade tine weeder. Seems to cost big money. It's 3 inches. Gets right under the soil, right at little seedlings. Right in between your plants. And the nice part about this is you really don't have much that's stuck to it, which means all that nice soil is staying in the bed and it's staying in place. We're not really tilling it at all. I'm new to the overall game. Still getting used to this. It's easier than pulling up your pants all the time. So you're really not tilling anything at all. You're just really pulling those little small seedlings out of the soil. See if I can find one. You're really just using this tine right here to get under these tiny little seedlings so you can get them out before they establish. Your plants that are in there can shade out that area. So what I'm doing here is I'm transplanting some of my stuff into this area as well as into our gridded area right here. And see, I did a little bit, but I'll show you my gridder. So don't laugh here. Altogether, this is like $300 in tools. And maybe this just says that I really need to get a welder. But this is my bed gritter. It's 48 inches long. And it's got these little carriage bolts underneath. So when I go to do my beds and transplant, look at that. Maybe with a bamboo stick, some duct tape, good old pole. Overall ingenuity at its finest. But these are spaced at 6 inches. Everything is 6 inches apart. So when I grid these beds, you can barely see it right at the beginning of that bed. When I grid these, I can just drag this along. It leaves a little line, and everything is in a quarter of a square foot. Maybe that's wrong, but everything's 6 by 6. Watch this. So like a campfire over here. So all I do, take my line that I had, right there, do that, Now that whole bread, not the bread, that whole bed is gridded now. You can see it'd be nice and easy to transplant all my stuff because I like to put greens at like 6 inches. Some of the big stuff, like lacinato kale, maybe like 12 or 18, or even if you're planting some of that at 3 inches, you can go, you know, 1, 2, 3 in your grid system, or, you know, 6 inches, 12 inches, 18 for your tomatoes, anything like that. Really simple. Call me a redneck, but it works. And it was free. Tine weeding real quick. We're gonna transplant here. We're gonna transplant into here. You can see this bed here is already seeded. That's I don't know, like nine or 10 rows of salad greens. See that little guy? Prime example. All you're pulling out is this. So this tine weeder and the flame weeder there, really you get good speed, and some things might be a little slower. But it's a classic example of how if you stay on top of weeds when they're tiny, you can use a lot easier methods than getting in there and waiting until you have to hand pull them, which sucks. So that's that. So I'm thinking maybe we'll start with some kale. Maybe put some of the lacinato kale on this side here, right here in this open spot, and a lot more of my lettuce heads back there. You know, those empty spots, get those to fill out because I'm going to harvest these soon. So as soon as I harvest each plant, just put a head of lettuce in its place. These guys all I start, I think this is Butterhead, even though I wrote Butter Crunch. Obviously I was like in a candy mode. And Summer Crisp, these guys are nice and full. Really nice looking head lettuce from markets and stuff like that. Brings me to the best kind of rake in the world. I don't even know what it's called. If you know what it's called, shout it out. But it is by far the best rake ever. I've done every patio I've ever done with this, every wall I've ever built, every single thing that's been done on this farm with this rake. It's the best. So well, since that's done, here's a little bit better look at the grid. Yeah, it doesn't do an incredible job, but pretty damn good job for free. I'm not spending $200 and $250 at Johnny's to grid my fucking beds. I'm gonna put the hair up for this one, as embarrassing as it might be. So these first guys didn't germinate as well. These are the Butterhead. I think they get a little wet, to be honest with you, but that's fine. They're not my favorite anyways. Four out of 6. So my number one, I really want these guys to shade out a lot. Half the reason I plant lettuce in here is to keep the weeds not growing. So when I put tomatoes in, it's not unbearable. So I'm going to put them in 6 inches. Usually you'd probably want to put them at like 12 inches. 8 or 10, I'm not sure, but that's what I like to do personally. I try and always plant a little high, because there's nothing worse plant's rotting. Now, these could have gone longer. I also could have let them dry out a little bit more, but the soil that I use for seedlings, essentially soil-less, which means it doesn't really have any nutritional value in it. Therefore, try and just get them acclimated and get them into compost because they do much better. They start to yellow out if you leave them in that seeding mix. Now, if you can't, use your bed gritter. You can always use something straight, which helps a lot. Best part is, now I've got a little line. Twenty-eight heads, so enough to fill some bowls. Every time I seed something, every time I transplant something, I try and seed the same thing that same day, so that 2.5 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now, I can transplant more. Every week or two, you get a new harvest. It's important to do if you're growing for yourself, not even just for a market, because how many heads of lettuce you eat. Sounds good for now. I think I might actually fill this in with a few of those Swiss chard seedlings, because I'm not sure if they'll actually survive or not, and if they don't, I'll just put more of this butterhead here in their place. Let's go to town. Try farming not high, boring as shit.